Hi guys. I'm assuming that I am live streaming right now. Good. I can see the eye count going on. I'm gonna wait like a few minutes until some of you maybe like want to join me. And I'm actually live streaming at home today. This is kind of like another test. I'm noticing that sometimes I get really good reception when I kind of do I fiddle around with my dial here down at the bottom, and I reset my my live stream or my internet hotspot. So again, just to let you guys know, I'm going to be doing a show. I'm sorry, I had a Tourette's of the hand for a second. I don't know if you saw that for a moment. Oh, forgive me for that. Okay. Okay, there's like, I don't even, I'll have to like play the video again to see if somebody saw me do that. There's like a little bit of tension going on, but they don't even know that. Sometimes I hold feelings inside, and then the only thing I can do is just like give them the finger, like secretly, because I'm not expressing that I don't want conflict. So I'm a passive aggressive flipper offer. Okay, you caught me. All right, so hi, I see that there's 3 people here, and I'm kind of testing my video quality. I'm trying to see, I am doing a show tomorrow with Steve Cambion and Kevin Moore and the Athena, I think the Athena Project, is that it? And CW Chanter, and I can't, I'm trying to, get it so that I have a good connection to participate with. And like I said earlier, if I push this little button, if I reset my hotspot on my laptop, I think it might work. I think I'm noticing that makes a big difference in terms of how well my hotspot works. Okay, so I titled this the topic to be Dave Chappelle. And because like the last 24 hours or so, I've been watching commentary, and my roommate here and I have been sharing different clips and different things that are going on in the media around him, and also on Facebook today. Now, I know that there's some people that say, "Oh, she's an alleged comedian." I really am a comedian, and if anybody calls them a researcher and you don't know that, shame on you. Because you're not a good researcher. If you do Google my name, Tere Joyce, Tere Joyce, you will see the first thing that comes up about me is comedy. It's not about talking about UFO stuff or anything like that. All right. This is all media that I have created after, working for 30 years as a comic. So most of my friends are comics on Facebook. I would say probably 75% of my friend list is maybe comedians. Some people are my friends and I don't know, and I think they're probably friends because they are watching media or whatever, how Facebook's like that. So when you talk about censorship or cancel culture, those are big deals for our world. And I think when you are talking about censorship, about even this media, look how we're censored here, how the media giants and the techs are not letting us say certain words and certain stuff like this. And they're just determining with their third-party fact checkers that whatever you're talking about isn't right. And, the way to say things is always changing. Like one way, at one point to mention something in a certain way culturally, and then all of a sudden you can't say it that way anymore. It's offensive, and it sometimes it's happening so fast that it's actually really hard to catch up with all of it, right? And the one thing that I notice in our culture, right? The way the mainstream media or politically something happens, or there's this flat out lies, really. Flat out lies. I'm going to bring up one lie that I don't like, and that's happening is concerning Joe Rogan, another comedian who has, shared his ideas that I can't really talk about on YouTube. But you know what I'm talking about, right? So, The View, I like to call them the bitches on The View. No, I like Sherry Shepherd on The View, but she's about it. All right. And not to brag, but I do know Sherry Shepherd. I've known her. I knew Sherry Shepherd before, any of us ever were on television. Matter of fact, I was with Ant, and who's also he's a gay comedian, and Ant and Sherry Shepherd and I. She was that when I played my first gay club, total gay club. That's where I met Sherry Shepherd, and I like her, and I don't think that she really goes into, like, she's on the show sometimes, but she doesn't go into like the propaganda narrative. Well, one lady on The View called Joe Rogan a racist and anti this and anti that and anti homophobe and all this kind of stuff, right? Just because it's a way of smearing somebody's character for what they're saying. Those things aren't true. Joe Rogan, of course, I noticed that Lauren Pritchard says that Joe Rogan is Aleister Crowley. I guess I got to throw that in there too, right? Most people who talk about, like, let's say Joe Rogan or whatever, he's evil, he's that, he's an agent. Is he an agent? Okay, the thoughts crossed my mind before, but I don't really have evidence to actually really prove that's what he is. But this media or people just decide to throw out whatever they want about something just because they're questioning a narrative that the mainstream media wants to push. And let's just think about, like, when you talk about the trickle down of how the media works and where the money is coming from on that. Pharmaceuticals are big contributors to our ads on film and television, on television, not film, but television. They're big contributors. They're the number one contributor for advertiser for magazines, and they have been for years. And the United States is one of the countries that allows it, and there's another country that allows it. You don't think that those pharmaceutical companies or advertisers have power over what they're going to be reporting or saying on whatever network that they back their money on? Of course they are. And it's not just the pharmaceutical companies that have that kind of power. And that's the problem with a lot of the journalism and the media, is because they have to answer to an advertiser, right? I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're talking about on YouTube, because YouTube has advertising, and they go, well, your stuff's not advertiser friendly because the advertisers rule. That's just so, as a media consumer and as a person that's watching this stuff, I really think that as a culture, we need to take this into consideration when we review the information that we're having. I'm pissed off at The View. I haven't liked The View for years, because they get on there and they do everything. And I want to make one mention also about The View and how they always have the one Republican slot. There's always the conservative woman who's always blonde, always white. Why don't you put a black conservative woman in that corner? Because they do exist. So, the fact that you decide to, put that, you should be called on that. The networks need to be called. If you talk about stereotypes, just look how they cast shows still today. All right, I'm going to get off my stance on that. So let's talk about Dave Chappelle for just a second. I'm afraid to give you my views at the moment because I feel like I could get attacked and it could get misperceived. but I encourage everybody to look and see for yourself if what you think that what he says is offensive, you know. And so I'm going to show you the video that's out now, and I will make sure that it's also in the description. I don't want to play it because of the fact that you know, it looks like it's a pretty official site here, and even like places like the Daily Rose Comedy, even like when you share stuff like this and you upper foods, sometimes end up navigating. So you want to be really careful. But this is from the Daily Rose Comedy and Dave Chappelle, and everybody has a right to address whatever controversy they're speaking of. Now, apparently, I mean, if you guys don't know, I'm just going to recap for a moment. Netflix, one of the employees walked out of the Netflix because they felt that he was you know, attacking the gay community. All right, and calling him a trans. Okay, I don't want to say the word because like the AI doesn't really have you know, it can't discern what fashion I'm talking about this about. So I think a lot of people, because we're conditioned to be reactive to everything that we hear, all the hysteria, all the barking heads, like, right? Or other comedians giving shit to other comedians, basically. Other comedians trying to censor other comedians. Okay, so, you know, we take what they say as verbatim, you know, seeing Fox News, we give this precedent saying, well, that's the authority, that's the official authority, and why would they ever lie? But, you know, if you look into even yellow journalism, where they use sensationalism and this and that, I always say, hey, let's go back to William Randolph Hearst and the propaganda against the cannabis plant, when they, you know, posted things, they called it marijuana because they wanted to insult the Mexicans, you know, and the border, and then bringing over the border. I mean, that's a time when the newspapers were full on racist about stuff. Or, you know, the fact that they went, oh, you know, your white women, the black jazz musicians are giving cannabis to the white women and they're having sex with them, and so we got to get this done. You know, sometimes the media is so hypocritical about what they do and why they do it and whatever topic they do it in. But in response, I'm just going to say one thing about Dave Chappelle. First of all, my personal feeling about Dave Chappelle, I have massive respect for his talent. I think that his show that he had was brilliant and it was edgy. And, you know, he even got criticized back then by, allegedly, by people like Bill Cosby or Oprah, who was saying, you know what, you're doing these characters like the racist black man who's blind. That's freaking that's gold right there. That character is gold, and it makes a statement. And the underlying theme is really anti-racist, you know, or the hypocrisy of everything. You know, I mean, he really turns things around, and I really think that that's the best part of stand-up comedy. The best part of stand-up comedy is when you're funny and you're making people really think about our social norms, and you're breaking the culture. You're breaking the limitations of our culture. All right. Now, I'm gonna get off of this for a minute, and then this isn't gonna be these are just my thoughts. And again, you're more than welcome to share what you think. See, Mark McFarland says, Big Pharma also sponsors social media for fact checkers. Okay, that's not necessarily correct. Sort of. It's not Big Pharma. It's actually the third-party fact checkers get grants from the Pointer Institute, and the Pointer Institute follows the CDC and the WHO guidelines. So, that's what they have to adhere to and make it as the standard. And I did an article about this on my blog, on Not My Rabbit Hole, the blog at notmyrabbithole.com, where I traced who were exactly third-party fact checkers and how they were funded and how they came about. And underneath all that is, on the top is the media through the Pointer Institute. Maybe that is but that's associated with CBS. Like it's still media. It's like they fund their journalists to talk about the things that they wanted in the fashion that they wanted them to say it. But if you are funding a journalist, right, to just do to follow line in the protocol of something, then are you really doing journalism? Anyway, I'm still learning about that world, so I'll get back to you on that. Big pharma executives on media company board of directors, and at least 2 that I've heard of so far. Yeah, I read, now actually the person I read this was like a David Wilcock blog, but I think some of the stuff that he did write in response to that particular time in the media, he may be accurate, where the heads of the pharmaceutical companies and the boards of the pharmaceutical companies, there'll be a news media person on their board, and then there'll be a pharmaceutical company representative on the not news media, but the media board. So they interchange, they've been hand in hand for a long time. And I've always wondered that, if you have, for example, there was a time, there's some people that have been born, that were born, they don't know anything different. That they think that we've always had pharmaceutical ads for different drugs. Ask your doctor of this, ask your doctor of that. Here's the different side effects that can happen to you. Talking about diseases that most people never even heard of sometimes. Take a happy pill or whatever. That's been going on for, for a long time. It didn't happen. There was a time when television did not have pharmaceutical ads, way back when. All right. And then all of a sudden they were there. And because of the fact that I think our minds create our reality, and if they can get people to watch something and then collectively create a reality or a viewpoint or culture or whatever, I think that if you keep seeing a commercial about a disease over and over again, and then it keeps saying, ask your doctor for what, you might actually create that disease. That's why I don't like to watch them. I'm like, no, I don't need this in my head, because who knows, because you thought it, or, it keeps giving you this much, ask your doctor if you need a medicine that's right for you, that you maybe would have never thought of, created for yourself, had you not watched the commercial. Now, I'm not talking science, I'm not talking, whatever, but there are people, that do vision boards, right? That go, that's what I want, I want to go from point A to point B. And that's, or The Secret, or, Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain, there's all, and I really think that there's truth to that. I think that if you, do create a vision board and you look at something over and over again, or you put something up on your wall and go, one day I'm going to have that, that you will find a way to have what you are projecting to have. All right. Am I cutting off? Okay, so I guess my internet isn't as good as I would hope it to be when I'm going from this location. And I'm also seeing that I'm having trouble like go to your thing. So hopefully it'll work out here in a moment, and I'll improve. Okay, good, because this broadcast is just kind of a test, and then I just threw out a topic to discuss. Let me see if I close some tabs here, if that kind of alleviates anything to where it's a little bit better. And we'll see what happens there. Maybe if I go like this, show it. Okay, and then see if I take that off, if it's gonna make it different. Okay, now what's that say? Now is good. Okay, so I'm going a little bit in and out. I'll review this video and come to a decision about what I'm going to do for tomorrow. Again, I reiterate, I'm going to be on Truth Seekers tomorrow around 3 p.m. PST. CW Chanter, Stephen Cambion, Kevin Moore, Truth Seekers, the Althea Project. We're all going to be discussing Simon Parks. All right, so and then Simon Parks might actually call into the show because everybody has the right to defend themselves, right? Okay, so that's the big message. Everybody has the right to defend themselves, and Dave Chappelle, has come out and said what he has said too as well. So apparently, somebody within Netflix got offended. They walked out of their job and they said, they want them to take the special down on Netflix. There's been protesting. There's been all kinds of stuff going on. But bottom line, underneath all of that, Dave Chappelle talks about how he did a documentary about George Floyd. And he was invited, like his documentary noticed about racism, right? And how he noticed and how he got invited to all these film festivals, and now they're shutting the door. He says, I really feel this documentary needs to be seen, and he's offering it's going on for people to get, some information can get out anyways. Being released to the public with the media, with the mainstream media, or this issue blocking it, and we are talking about cancel culture. One thing I had, and I want to address this too before I go, because I'm going to have to go here pretty soon, because again I was just wanting to do something. It's just kind of a test, and this is kind of a really little quick show, checking my internet in this space, stuff like that. One of the things that media does, all media, books, film, television, this art media that we're doing here, it really defines our culture. Our culture is defined by our it's part of defining who we are and how we live as people. And somebody made a comment, like, because I titled yesterday's video, because I mean, it's a bad way to set up that you're talking about pop culture, but like you're talking about pop culture, And I just thought that to me, it kind of felt like it's almost like I had stooped to some kind of low, that whatever we talk about here is, like that's not always in the mainstream media. Is so much more poignant than what than what a celebrity is saying or doing or what's affecting them or however. But in the case of like Alec Baldwin, and in the case of like say Dave Chappelle, I'm going to defend this platform. Like Alec Baldwin, like I'm not just commenting on what the Kardashians are doing, and going, oh, blank blank blank. I'm actually talking about the film industry and a safety issue that happened, and the fact that it happened to someone like Alec Baldwin, who is has a political stance that he does. Like like Alec Baldwin is a huge social influencer. And we know that he comes from the liberal standpoint, and we know that, you know, on SNL, he really ragged on Trump. And, you know, in comedy, again, we're talking about comedy here. You know, in comedy, it's okay. Anybody can be lampooned. It's comedy. Now, comedy can not kill, but I mean, there's a term in comedy where if you did a really good set, you'd go, I killed. Okay. Somebody like said that on Facebook recently, you know, in response to the lingo, and Facebook was like, oh, this is definitely a threat. But it was never meant to be talked to about that way. But for example, comedians can really affect the votes, because a lot of people, you know, the discussion is that, remember when Tina Fey was doing, what's her name? You know, she was running with McCain, you know, the Alaska, candidate, right? That was the first person to run for vice president as a woman. She took, like, we say Tina Fey took her out. Her comedy routine and the things that she pointed out, many people believe was the reason why, she didn't become vice president. I mean, like, when you present comedy in that particular level, it has that kind of power. Now, did Alec Baldwin's, you know, portrayal of Trump on SNL actually really affect his how he did in the office, or, you know, in terms of a president? I don't know. That would be an interesting argument to have. But what it has done is that it's caused some people to make jokes about Alec Baldwin right now about this particular situation, because they stand on a certain side of politics and they want to run him in the mud or paint him as being guilty, you know, just because, you know, of the fact of his political leanings. And I think that is worthy of being talked about. I think that the fact that it happened with, even though it was a prop gun and a loaded gun, it still falls in the line of gun and gun control in some respects, which is another really serious topic to talk about. And I just don't think that you can just frivolize this conversation as being something that's just pop culture. That it's a culture that it's a happening that, in a sense, is really maybe not getting a fair shake, because it's being viewed through the lens of our political standing, right? Like, when you want to find out if somebody's guilty or not guilty or whatever, you have to, in a way, you have to like remove your biases to look at something objectively and wait for the facts to come out to find out what the real truth is. It's like, for example, I'm not going to want to like make a complete statement on Dave, Chappelle, until I can say, yeah, I watched the entire his entire show, and I'm offended by it or whatever. But even if I'm offended by it, that may be my problem. Some people get, offended about everything. You say a swear word, you say something a certain way, you act in a certain manner. Oh, I'm offended. And here's an argument. And this is my roommate and I, there's a transgender comedian that actually supported Dave Chappelle. And, and pretty much said, I don't find what's, I really don't see anything wrong with it. I don't think, if you, and when you go see a comedy show, if you don't like it, walk out the door and ask for your money back. I mean, I've seen it happen. I worked with Doug Stanhope for a few nights. And on one of the nights that we did, 30 people walked out on Doug Stanhope because he's a libertarian. He was giving views that they didn't like, or they were saying, it happens. Comedians sometimes offend people. It's part of the art form in a way. When you look at people like Lenny Bruce, for example, and what he did for freedom of speech and what he went through. I mean, I think honestly, I think they might have taken him out because of it. Because Lenny Bruce was criticizing the police and he was criticizing the Catholicism. All right, and they wanted to just shut him down. So anyway, this was mainly just a real quick little something to talk about today while I tested out my internet. And I wish I could add more of your comments, because one thing my internet's not letting me do is scroll up on your stuff right now. And I know you're commenting, and I appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in briefly with me today and letting me just kind of share some thoughts with you. Okay, bye.